Welcome to the Star of Nine. To Elan Lohmann. There you go, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Thank you. Yeah. Sit down. Take a seat. Okay.
So the group head of Vusa Digital. If it was a Vusa, I probably would have retired already.
Thank you. So the idea behind Star of Nine is to actually get to know Elan as a person, as an entrepreneur, how he became the entrepreneur that he is today, and how he did so well in his corporate lifestyle. So we can start right at the beginning. Elan, take me right back. Where were you born?
Where was I born? I was actually saying earlier, like, I'm used to coming in like with a wax presentation and rehearsed, and actually I don't know what's going to happen tonight. I've got no idea what I'm going to be asked. It was at the Florence Nightingale Hospital in Hillbrow, in Johannesburg. Yeah.
Nice.
Those are the days where they didn't throw fridges out of the windows. Yeah.
Look at others. Okay, and your parents, what did they do as when you were a youngster?
My father's a chef.
Okay.
So he wasn't really around much because he was working in a hotel at the time. It was a Sunnyside Hotel or something. It was a big thing in Joburg for people in the room are that old. And so I was allergic to my mom's milk, so they had to like get this expensive like formula from overseas in those days.
Yes.
And they said it was very expensive, and I didn't sleep.
So
They'd like push me every night in the pram up and down the passage, and as soon as this stopped, I would just start crying.
You're a difficult kid.
Yeah, so that was when the bond was formed with them.
Okay. And then, so moving on, you grew up in Joburg. From there, what happened? Take us through where you went to school.
Okay, so I grew up in Joburg. I went to the closest school in our neighborhood. It was called Sandringham.
Okay.
I was very into sport when I was a kid. I was a promising cricketer. Then again, everyone thinks their son's a promising cricketer at that age. So one day we went and played against King Edward's. I think I was in standard 1 at the time. And King Edward's was wasn't private, but it was a very traditional school. So whereas Sandringham was it was co-ed and more government based. So went to play cricket, and my mom was quite, typical Jewish mother. She was quite enthusiastic about me being successful, and it was quite funny. We were playing cricket, and my mom shouts from the sideline, "Hit the rubbish!" like loud. So the master from King Edward's, the umpire, he walked off the field, stopped the game. He walked off the field, and he said to my mom, he said, "Lady, this is King Edward's." And my dad enrolled me there the next day. So basically I switched schools. He was so impressed that I switched schools and I went to King Edward's.
Okay.
And then when I was at King Edward's, the options were King Edward's or another good school was St. John's, which was a private school. It was too expensive. So the thing with St. John's was better education. King Edward's was better on the sport. Because my mom was a typical Jewish mom who wanted the best education. So I went and I wrote the scholarship exams. Yes. And I managed to get an academic scholarship to St. John's. And the fact that I was okay at sport also helped a little bit. So I got a scholarship to go there, which was very lucky because it's one of the best schools in Joburg. And so that was quite a privilege. And then from there, took a year off after school, went to kibbutz. What happens on kibbutz stays on kibbutz. So picked a lot of bananas, met some Scandinavian ladies.
Nice.
That was pretty cool. Drank a lot of very cheap vodka. But yeah, that was a cool year. It was a good experience. And it's funny because a lot of people in those days, the attitude was, oh, you can't take a year off. You're not going to want to study. It was in those days. It wasn't the done thing that you would take a gap year.
For sure.
So it was kind of abnormal. So did that and actually found that I was more hungry to actually come back and study, because after when I was in Israel, aside from the kibbutz, I did some odd jobs in Tel Aviv. I was doing waterproofing of roofs and being treated like a laborer. And then I realized I want to make something of my life.
For sure.
So
when all in a year, you were there for the year in the kibbutz doing those jobs with the Israel.
Yeah, and I'd actually won a scholarship from my father's company for varsity.
Okay.
So a bursary at least.
What was the company?
But they gave me a year.
Company.
He was working at it was called Angloval Minerals.
Okay.
They downsized and I don't know if they even exist anymore. But he was there working the catering as a caterer. Okay. But when you win the bursary, they give you a year to exercise the right. So I had a year off. Okay. Going to Israel, I actually had quite a Zionistic experience because I went to an Anglican school. Yes. I was never surrounded by Jewish people. My father's not Jewish, so I never really had much Jewish influence, even though I had a bar mitzvah and my mom's Jewish and all those kind of things. So spending a year in Israel with a very Hebrew name like Elan. Now all of a sudden, when you working as a laborer, and the guys, it's like reverse anti-Semitism. If you're not Jewish, you get treated like Eurotrash. But when they hear, they say, "What's your name?" and you give them an Israeli name, and they're like, "Elan, you want to come for dinner?" It's like it's like
what place is that?
The one little place on earth where switcheroo. So I left feeling quite Zionistic, and at that stage I was young and stupid, and phoned my parents and said I'm joining the army. And my dad said to me, he said, "Look," he said, "you won this bursary." He said, "Come back, finish your studies, you can do whatever you like." And then I learned about liberalism and all that varsity politics. Okay. I didn't want to fight anymore.
And when you went, did you know that you wanted to go into the corporate life while you were at the kibbutz, or not really?
Look, I think because I didn't come from a family that had money, and my mom was you can hear she was quite an influence in my life. Quite neurotic and always worried about we have a roof over our head, and so I think I had an ingrained tendency towards security.
Okay.
I didn't have any influence in my life around risk. Okay. So I almost feel I just felt the path was okay. I'm not going to be a doctor or a lawyer, but the path was go to varsity, get a decent job, do well at that, excel, and then that's what life's going to be. Yeah. Which is why I only left at age 37, which I'm sure we'll get to.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think it was never any other option in my mind that I would just follow that path,
So it's actually almost ingrained in you, as you could say, as a child.
Yeah, and to always excel,
no matter what you're doing.
Yeah, that was always it was actually never good enough. Always want more, So I think
do you find that has a negative effect on you now looking back, or do you think it was a good thing to be pushed all the time?
I think it's a bit of both.
Okay.
I think I'm learning a lot of. I hate the word balance because when people say you must have balance, but I'm learning at the moment that certain things aren't as important as I thought they were, okay. and other things which I didn't think were that important are important. So, but I think definitely I was driven, and my priority was always to just move forward and progress. Okay. I always wanted to be the guy who put up my hand and said, I'll do it. Yeah. And the hope was always to keep moving up the rung. I was actually very lucky because of timing. So when I studied journalism at Rhodes.
Okay.
And when we were in third year, they introduced a course called cyber publishing. Okay, oh, the information superhighway.
Whoa.
Yes,
big words these.
Exactly, that was 1995 or something like that.
Sure.
And it was 6, and so it wasn't offered before. So that's what actually started my passion for digital. Because I didn't want to be a poor journalist, so I was a little bit worried at that stage. And then they introduced this course, and I started building websites, and I just loved it. It was just, those were the days. There was no
front end. I think it was
not even front end. There was Notepad. You had to write a rollover in JavaScript. I mean, there was no tools or, it was like, you hear about the days where we used to kick around like socks. We didn't have a soccer ball barefoot. It was like that, Like basically, it was the really raw early stage of the internet.
Wow. Okay.
And if you look at the industry, people like Matthew Buckland was a year ahead of me, and there was just a small group of us who still have survived to today that have been in the industry throughout. And so I got lucky in the sense that nobody in corporate life really knew what the internet was. So I had to do an internship in fourth year, and at that stage, I don't know if anyone here can remember, the Sunday Times website was this luminous green. Does anyone remember that? Yeah, they had this luminous green website. It was hideous. And we had to do an internship, and I phoned them up, and I said, can I do my internship with you guys? You would get credits for doing like a 2-month internship and writing a paper. So I went and I did that, and got on very well with them, enjoyed that. It was over the elections. I lied to them. They said, can you do HTML and whatever? I was like, yeah.
Totally.
And like, I learned it on the train, like, to Joburg. I downloaded...
Like, what's HTML on dial-up or something?
Does anyone remember WebMonkey from Wired.com? So Wired.com had this thing called WebMonkey. Okay. And WebMonkey was basically teaching people how to write HTML. And like, it just had these funky, cool ways to show you how to write a table or frame or whatever it was. And it's actually quite cool, because in my second year of employment at the Sunday Times, they said, we think you're one of our young stars. What do you want to do? You can do anything in the world. We'll pay for it.
Wow.
And so I said, I want to go to WebMonkey. So
I say, what?
So they said, if you can organize it, then we'll pay for it. So I phoned up Wired.com, Wired magazine, and I said, I want to come do an intern with you guys. My company is going to pay for everything. Can you offer me a desk and whatever? And they were like, yeah, no, that's cool. And so I hopped on a plane, and I spent 6-7 weeks in San Francisco working at Wired.
That must have been an experience.
It was very cool. Like, I mean, I was just like fresh out of varsity. So
and we still had dial-up there. They were having ADSL. So.
No, I remember I was a terrible journalist. They had me writing stuff. I had to do some story on meteorites, and that's when I realized I'm never going to be a reporter. But
one study gone there.
But yeah, so then what happened with the Sunday Times was they had a job freeze at what was then Times Media Limited. And so at the end of our fourth year, I said, I'd like to come work for you guys. And they said, well, we've got a job freeze. We can't employ you. So I said, okay, I'll work for free. So
but you were at Wired at San Francisco. Was it just a limited time period?
That was after being at San Times. We'll get back to that. But that was after being at Sunday Times for 2 years. But back to how I got to Sunday Times, my first job, is I said to them, well, I'll work for free for you. And then they said, okay, well, we'll pay you a per diem, for your petrol. And, in those days, I think a per diem was 50 Rand a day, covered it. So I said, okay, fine, cool. And then I spent about 6 months on per diem. And in that time, I rebuilt the whole product. Sure. And then when it came to like them offering me a contract, they wanted to offer me a journalist salary. And I said, no. I said, it doesn't work like that. I said, you've got a rare skill set. Nobody understands what's going on here. You can't offer me what you're paying a journalist. So I leapfrogged quite quickly. Okay. And like I was kind of like all seeing in the land of the blind. Yeah. So straight away, the Sunday Times had a management committee, which had a weekly meeting. And, because I was now looking after digital, I now got, and because all the departments had to be represented, I was now suddenly attending the management committee. Things that people take 20 years sitting in the media carrying equipment and shit, and like to get there.
Yes.
And there's this like pipsqueak all of a sudden in the boardroom. And
like,
so that was
guys, your digital strategy. We've got to look at this.
But that was amazing for me, because I learned a lot about the media business in general. Because in that meeting we discussed circulation, we discussed marketing, we discussed all the different. Exactly, I got to understand the politics. I got to understand the ineptitude in corporates, and the inefficiencies and the frustrations. And so I grew up very quickly. When all my friends were busy getting drunk and on weekdays, I all of a sudden was running a department.
Sure.
So I'm very grateful for it, and it was an awesome experience. And in those days, I was very good at getting tasks done. I've become worse at that, and I find that I'm not that interested. And I'm more leave like a wake of admin and try and look at the big picture. But as I become more strategic, but I mean, in those days, I was quite good at actually just getting task-based stuff done.
Okay.
And so I think I was lucky with the timing, because a whole lot of us got into, I mean, I also was one of the founding members of the Online Publishers Association, which is now what you know as the DMMA. So a couple of us got together and said, you know what, there's no point all of us fighting with each other over this little piece of the pie, when actually the real enemy is print and TV and radio and whatever. So what are we going to do as an industry to work together to take more of the pie and thereby benefit? And that was basically, us getting around a table was how the Online Publishers Association started. And then it was only publishers. Later on it became more inclusive, and also then started to broaden its intake to smaller publishers and other internet businesses, and
So it was only legit publishing houses, or no bloggers.
What was then called the Boys Club. So there was a view that it was quite elitist. It was the big publishers, but everything has to start somewhere. So to be involved with all of that was quite exciting. It was very, very exciting.
Okay, so now this is your 2 years. No, you've done this and you've gone to Wired. You've come back to Times.
Yeah, I was at Sunday Times in total for about 3.5 years, 4 years. 4.5, yeah. And then I got headhunted to head up News 24.
Okay.
So, and that's how it brought me to Cape Town.
Okay.
Like, I was one of those German people who's
like, or is it just that we needed somebody in Cape Town that did this.
The whole of News 24 was here.
Okay.
So I got recruited for that, and at that stage I'd been to Cape Town like twice in my life.
And
once
it's
when I was
laid back place that just.
Once when I was a kid, and then once like on a hockey tour at school. So like I didn't really know Cape Town.
Yeah.
And then I'd just been indoctrinated by everyone who said, I had the same mindset as all those Joburgers who say, well, it's a nice place for a holiday. But nothing goes on there.
Yeah.
So
until they come down here.
Until you start working for NASPAS in Cape Town, because then you can work hard no matter where you are. So I got offered more money to come to Cape Town. I just got out of a serious relationship. I was bored of what I was doing at Sunday Times, so everything was like, it was an absolute no-brainer.
Yeah, for sure.
So I packed everything up, came here, and fell in love with Cape Town like on day one. Like, I just basically said...
It must have been a good weather day.
Don't know, where's the mountain? But basically, from day one, like, I said to myself, what took me so long to get here?
Yeah.
And straight away I knew it was home. Cape Town offers the type of lifestyle that I like, and the environment that I like. So ever since that day I knew that like Cape Town's my last stop for South Africa. And I said to myself, because at that stage, for those 2-3 years preceding that, I was one of those people thinking about going overseas. And then after moving here, I decided I'll only ever leave South Africa if I've had enough of Cape Town. And I don't really see that happening. So I'm probably here to stay. Although I did commute for 3 years between Joburg and Cape Town.
Okay.
But I'm sure we'll get to that. So then I joined News 24. I took over. It was scary.
Took over.
It was really scary.
The digital side or the entire? You were like, guys.
No, the digital side of News 24.
Okay.
Yeah. I was the business manager.
Okay.
I was responsible for the bottom line, and it was scary because, to be honest, Sunday Times was a mom and pop shop, where it was a cost center, a brand extension. So there was never any pressure to perform. Nobody ever asked you for any results other than some traffic stats. Okay. We had no revenue targets. Any advertising money that we made was a bonus, because it was purely viewed as a brand extension to the Sunday Times newspaper. Then I get to News 24, and they've got these serious business plans, serious targets, and I sweated for the first year. It was a baptism by fire. I learned so much. I don't know if anyone can remember Russell Hanley, but Russell, he was like one of the guys he instigated the Online Publishing Association. Okay. And I believe that Russell was responsible for making that 24.com business what it is. Okay. He was the one who really got News 24, Women 24, Property 24, all those businesses going in the hard days. Because even though digital business is still hard, it was harder. So to sell advertising or whatever, it was hardcore.
Okay.
So, and we had lots of, everyone has their challenges, but at the time, online gambling was the only people who were spending money. So, you don't ever want to have your profile just in all your eggs in one basket. So there were tough times to try and generate income. And I believe that Russell, so he was my mentor.
Okay.
But he was...
Did he guide how the business was going to go, or...
Yeah. I mean,
you just had to meet those targets. Just push,
no, we had to all produce our own business plans.
Okay.
He was one of those leaders who you just didn't ever want to let down, like a father kind of figure.
Yeah.
He was fair and just, but at the same time you were scared of him, because like any good businessman, you have to be ruthless, and there's no favor.
Yeah.
But you didn't want to let the guy down, and he was always there to help us. But that year, I learned a lot, because Naspers is serious. I found the Avusa environment and the Naspers environment to be like chalk and cheese, because what you have in Avusa is you've got media people getting into management positions, and because you're a good journalist, or because you're a good political writer, doesn't make you a good business strategist, or whatever it is. So whereas at Naspers, I found that people working in business roles had much better business acumen, and Koos is like not a fun guy. So it's serious. Like, he gets very involved in the detail all the way through. So yeah, it was a lot of pressure, and that first year was tough. But I got through it, and I'm not going to say that it was me, but I'm happy to say that I was there when we broke even and became profitable, because when I got there we were making quite a big loss.
Okay.
When I got there, IOL was neck on neck with News 24. In those days, that was the race,
Yeah,
I'd wake up every morning and go, IOL. and yeah, so, and then we pulled away from them quite extensively. I mean, they didn't invest in the business. The independent strategy is just to like bleed it dry, So I mean, it wasn't me being there. We passed 1 million unique users locally. When I was in charge, local users became profitable. So I saw that as like a good thing that I'm happy to have done. So then moved off.
Can you divulge a bit more on the stats that were actually happening with you guys? So you're getting 1 million unique visitors per month?
Yeah, that was when we broke on the local.
Okay.
Now it's like 2 million or something.
Okay.
Or more.
Yeah. And the actual, what other analytics were there in the business that you had to like focus on at that time?
It's always revenue. It's bottom line.
Okay.
It's bottom line all the time.
So you just focus on that all the time.
Yeah.
Is it getting in sponsorship, or what were the business models of?
Okay. Well, I mean, essentially there were different businesses which had different business models. So News 24 is a publishing business.
Sure.
Publishing business traditionally is around building audience and selling advertising. Okay. So you've got your traditional advertising sales. Then you have commercial deals.
Okay.
So, for example, we would do a deal with someone like Digital Planet, and we would get a share of any sales because, we're putting them on the front page, or Dating Buzz, But I introduced something called a hybrid model, because when I arrived there, my predecessor had just done a revenue share model. And I thought, no, hang on a second, there's a value to you being there, because we're building your brand, we're building your business. Because back in the early days, we used to build people's, like take NetFlorist, for example. Like, all the portals would do a deal with NetFlorence for 2% of, like, it's nothing, it's peanuts. But because they wanted to be seen to offer services to users. So that was the name of the game back then, was like, can we appear to be offering services? But then eventually you realize, hang on a second, I've just built this guy's business and I got nothing out of it. And, unfortunately, fortunately, because News 24 was the market leader, I was able to be arrogant. So I was quite aggressive. So the one day I just cancelled all the deals and basically forced everyone to renegotiate. Okay. Because my predecessor had been quite soft. So it was, that
must have been quite a shake-up. Now suddenly the guys are scrambling around trying to get back in, because they're realizing that all their traffic and all their revenue is coming through that. So.
Actually it's funny, because Warren Moss, who started Demographica, he's like one of my best friends, and he was one of the guys that I axed. And he was like, who is this oak? And he said, listen, can I meet you? So on one of my trips to Joburg, I met him at the Holiday Inn, and we bonded, and I said, let's just do a deal that's fair, okay? And then we came to a deal that made us both happy.
Okay.
But yeah, he admitted they'd been getting like a very sweet deal. So, but yeah, I mean, so there's also those types of opportunities. Then you had, but generally publishing is about building audience and selling ad space.
Well, that's what it's all about.
You know, that's what it is. But you know, you take a business like Property 24. Property 24 was actually making money out of bond switching. Okay. So because Property 24 was a joint venture with Absa Bank at the time, so they were really making money out of bond switching, which was actually happening from a call center. So they were making most of their cash out of brick and mortar, but they were making a lot of money out of building a loan book, which you know was eventually that fell away because the Absa deal fell away. So that money was kind of like good in the good times, but
Bad in the bad times.
but what it meant was they then had built a cost base for their portal based on revenue that wasn't coming from the online. So there had to be a readjust. They sent me in to readjust it. So what happened was I started to get a reputation for being like a fix-it-up kind of guy. So we used to joke. I used to, Mr.
Build up from scratch.
You know, Mr. Wolf from Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
It was like a bit of a joke, but like I would actually get asked, okay, will you go look at that business? Because they knew that I had no problem getting rid of people and changing things up.
Thanks. I'll remember this.
I don't mean that in a bad way, but in business.
But in business, you have to.
In business, there's no sentiment. There's no emotion in it. Like essentially, you have to be good to people. You have to be fair to people. I believe you always have to be consistent. You have to know what you're going to get from me. I can't treat you this way today and that way tomorrow. No curveballs or underhandedness or surprises. But at the end of the day, it's performance related. And if somebody is not performing, or if a part of the business is not performing, then it's not a charity. So
okay, so this is now your 2 years. How many years in total were you at Newsroom?
I was immediate. Well, I started doing different jobs there. I was running social media for a while, and so I started taking more into my portfolio. But yeah, I was there for like and then I took on. They started MIH Internet Africa.
Yes.
And then I took on the mobile social networking project. They wanted to build an Africa thing. We were trying to do a deal with Mixit. It was a long year of nothing, basically. Where you're trying to do deals and people on other levels, things going on, and nothing really. I can't really on my CV. I can't put that I achieved anything in that year. And then so that I worked for another nice man in that year, and so I decided I want out of here. And at the time, Avusa phoned me and they said, "We want you to come back and fix everything up."
You left us at a level now.
No, well, the previous guy to me had messed up a lot and spent a lot of cash because he was more content editorially focused. And editorial people just know how to spend money. I mean, it's just that's what they're there for. They spend the money. Everyone, that's their job. So essentially, they were in quite a big hole. So I said, okay, fine, but I'm not prepared to move back to Joburg. I said, you commute me and I'll do it.
Sure.
So they said, okay, fine. So basically, I got an apartment in Joburg. They flew me up twice a week.
Well, a little cupboard up and a cupboard down, yeah.
Yeah, so basically for about 2.5 years.
Would you go up there for 2 weeks, come down for 2 weeks?
No, I'd go every Monday morning, come back every Thursday night. Yeah, so every Monday morning the
you
red eye.
You didn't have a girlfriend at this stage?
No, I did.
Okay.
I did. Well, on and off, but no, I did. I did.
Yeah, I'd lost.
That was the only thing I didn't have. That was the only thing I didn't have two of. Everything else I had, I had a car there. I had my gym shoes there. Didn't use them much in those days, but yeah, I mean, so I traveled very light. And yeah, I went every Monday morning, first flight out, and then came back every Thursday night, getting my front door at about 10 o'clock. And you know what the funny thing is? The funny thing is I actually had more balance in my life as a result of that. Because
it's almost compartmentalizing your life.
When I was here working at Naspers, I worked day and night, weekends, and there was no differentiation. What I did was, with this, when I was in Joburg, I worked my arse off. Like, I basically, when I was in Joburg, all I did was work, and then I would come home, and I'd make a point of having a weekend, because the week had been so intense. And so for the first time, I actually started like making a weekend. So, in a strange
you
way,
totally broke up. You didn't take any work home basically. You stayed in Joburg.
in a strange way, Friday I still had to pretend to work, but in a strange way, look, I mean, at that stage I was in a high-level management position. I had managers under me.
So you just
it's a strategic role. So when you're in a strategic role, your work is to make decisions. Your work is to do the thinking. Your work is to make sure that everything is going in the right direction. You're not doing hours and hours and hours of actual work. Which is why it's interesting for me now, because it's just me now and I have to do all the stuff. So I'm like,
everything.
I'm used to
I asked
having
you for a
people.
poster the other day, and he was like, "Dude, I'm going to design that poster myself."
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So essentially, it was fun. Actually, I felt you would have thought that would have tired me out, but it actually energized me. It's strange, but it was good. I'm glad that I did it. It actually wasn't as bad as it sounds.
Okay.
I think it was pretty. I don't like boredom. I don't like routine. I don't like monotony. So in a way, it was kind of cool.
Okay, now coming back to the actual, you went back to Vusa. You were traveling back and forth. You sorted out the issues.
Yeah. No, I mean we took them out of the hole and some.
Okay.
Obviously, I didn't really get rewarded for that because you don't really incorporate. So,
Sure.
yeah.
Okay. And then
You save them 25
so
million
was it,
and you get like.
where does
okay.
Arnett Bridge come into the story?
Arnett Bridge.
Mm.
So basically my portfolio. My last job was I was group head. That job we were talking about was I was recruited to look after publishing for them and get them out of that hole. Then they were happy with the job that I did with publishing. The then CEO Prakash, who left under a cloud with millions and millions, he somehow liked me. He said, "I think you're an honest guy, and I think you know what's cutting. I want you to do this job."
Okay.
So I said, "Okay, cool." So then I took on the group head role. It was a new role, and so in my portfolio, I had Arnett Bridge, Career Junction, Exclusive Books, the publishing business, Map IT, which is actually a very profitable business. It's a joint venture with TomTom. So it was quite I think there was even more. It was quite an extensive portfolio, but it was tough for me because the way Avusa had chosen to do business, a lot of those businesses were PTYs.
Okay.
So Arnett Bridge, for example, is a PTY, so is Career Junction, which means that I chaired those boards.
Okay.
But, as a board, the board appoints a management team. And the board isn't meant to get too involved in the detail. The board is meant to make sure that the strategic direction is right, etc. But you shouldn't really meddle with the business. And that was hard for me because I now had businesses that I was accountable for, with some difficult people running those, strong-minded people running those businesses, much older than me. And it was hard for me to actually have tangible influence because legally I wasn't really allowed to go in there because you're not as a director, there's laws around the Companies Act and look, I mean, a lot of the King stuff is guidelines. Unless you're a listed company, it's guidelines. But I mean, I had people working under me quoting back Companies Act, when I interfered too much, because I obviously
That's a nice environment.
I obviously wanted to go in there and turn everything upside down.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating for me because a lot of those businesses weren't running the way I wanted them to run. So I kind of felt impotent in that role. It was kind of like, I think it was the last push for me to leave my corporate life, because I would say if I could sum up why I left corporate life, it's probably, there's nothing worse than seeing things happening you don't agree with, decisions being made that you would never make. You sit in the boardroom and these decisions get taken and you just want to jump off the balcony.
Yeah,
you don't agree with them,
yeah.
and you don't agree with the company's way it's being run. Some marketing person comes and presents a strategy about the new company, values and mission statement or whatever, and no one's been consulted. We're the executive, and two guys in a room put something together, and I take that very seriously. Like, for me, the mission and the values of a company and the vision, to me, that's real stuff that you have to take real care of, and you have to live, and you have to believe in.
Yeah, because that's what
for most companies, it's just words they put on the wall, and nobody puts any stock in them whatsoever. and nobody's even consulted in crafting them or even cares about it. But I believe it really matters, and most corporates doesn't. So all those things were.
So you're getting to a point now, you're seeing all the stuff going on, and you decided, hang on a minute, you know what, I'm going to relook at things, or how did it come around to leaving, going into Sleek Geek?
It was kind of an accident, actually. I think I'd always thought I wanted to start a business one day, but I never had the balls to. Like, I never had the confidence to actually step out of that security. You know, I'd got to the stage where I was earning all right, and, you know, driving around in my Lexus convertible, and, you know, I know it's an old man's car, but you know, I was kind of supposedly living the life that I was striving for. And then one morning I woke up and realized that I didn't want any of this. So yeah, I mean, it was just an accident with Sleek Geek. Basically, what happened was I developed quite a following on Twitter from my digital, you know, thing over the years, and then I decided one holiday I was going to Zanzibar, and I was like, no, I can't like go walk around the board shorts like that. And so on Twitter I just said, hey guys, let's put 500 Rand into the kitty. We've got 6 weeks till I go to Zanzibar, and then the winner takes the pot.
Cool.
Then I asked my one friend on Twitter, Jonathan Allen Barrett, who's like, he was quite a gym bunny. He was like the Twitter gym bunny, but he also works in the media and marketing and that kind of thing. I said, will you be the judge? And he was like, cool. And so we got 12 of my friends, but I only had like 2 days to do recruitment. It was like the Thursday. I said, we've got to kick off on Monday.
Yo.
So got 6,000 Rand.
Okay.
And that was the first Sleek Geek challenge.
Jeez.
12 of us with 6,000 Rand. Now I've given hundreds of thousands of Rands away in my challenges. Had about 1,500 people come through them so far. In about a year and a bit. No, yeah, it's almost 2 years now for the challenge.
Okay.
But yeah, so somehow it caught on, and then I needed a mantra. So I went with the mantra, eat clean, train dirty, which I didn't make up. I mean, it's a thing that's out there, but I kind of hooked onto that because I felt I'm big into no supplements and any of that, just like eat healthy food and exercise. And so I hooked onto that, and I started making a lot of noise. Now, I could have gone either way. I thought I was going to lose all my followers and really upset people. And I think, you know, for every person...
The more you push out there, the more you go like...
I think for every person who didn't like it, there seemed to be 10 people who did like it, and it caught on.
Okay.
And then I created a Sleek Geek account.
Okay. How did you come about with the name?
Oh, you know, I've always liked things that rhyme. So
that's a good reason.
No, it was just, I mean, for that first challenge, I thought to myself, well, we have to have a space to talk to each other. So I set up a Facebook group, and, you know, you can't just set up a Facebook group. It's got to have a picture, and it's got to have a name. And so I don't know why. I just thought, okay, well, you know, at the time, I identified very much with the term geek. You know, we went to Geek retreat. We played Geek cricket. It was Geek this. It was Geek that. So I just thought Sleek Geek. You know, and that's, you know, I had no intentions of it ever becoming anything. That group of the 12 of us is now 6,200 people.
Yes, well done. Give the guy applause. There we go.
Yeah.
So, what, 3 years, eh?
Well, actually, when I quit my job last year, a year ago, there were about 700 people in the group when I left my job, and now there's 6,200. So we've grown quite well, and it's all through word of mouth. I don't spend a cent on marketing.
I think when I invited you this, you were at 5,800 on that Facebook group.
Yeah. Now we suddenly got a little spike. There was an article on Health 24 where one of our ladies had an amazing transformation, and there was a link to the group.
How much did she lose?
She lost about 45. The thing is, she went from being really overweight to, like, she's just done a show now, like a bikini model show. Yeah, I mean, done amazing. Her husband lost 75 kilograms.
Whoa.
Yeah. So the two of them are like,
they're like
absolutely different people. Yeah. So
it must be quite nice to see that transformation, you know, because you were with them from the start.
Yeah.
Going through that.
Well, what's cool for me is, like, you know, like the vampires, I'm the original Sleek Geek. So now this whole family has grown. And across my community now, with Twitter and the Facebook page and the group and my mail base of about 4,000 people, and all of that kind of deduplicated. I mean, it's hard to deduplicate, but I've then aggressively said, okay, with a 50% kind of duplication of everything that I touch, I reckon at the moment I've got about 13,000 people. And they all talk, so brand awareness is even bigger. I mean, I've had lots of TV appearances, that kind of thing. So, like, to achieve all of that in a year and a bit is like, it's pretty cool.
Impressive.
Yeah, and you know what, people ask me, oh, you know, are you some kind of social media guru? I'm like, no, man. Like, at the end of the day, do something that's worthwhile. Do something that appeals to people, and do something that people love. So, like, my marketing strategy for Sleek Geek is very simple. My only objective is to make my people happy. Maybe I got it from when I used to DJ at Varsity, and my view was, if the girls are happy, everyone's happy. so
Really.
Exactly. So when I DJed at Varsity, my only objective was to make the girls happy, because then happy girls equal happy guys. You know, so it was quite a simple formula.
Very simple.
But like with Sleek Geek, the guys they talk to their friends, and they spread the word, and they love the brand. They identify. It's not like, you know, any other. There's other challenges out there, and there's other health brands out there, and then that relationship is like kind of like me and a brand. You know, I've built a family because what I believe is about social networks. You know, social networks, they're nodes, and essentially, if you want to make strong bonds, you've got to allow your community to connect with each other. So I try and facilitate as much as possible opportunities for people, and you'll see in my community, anyone in the community, if you look at their common friends, they're all friends with each other, and they've built relationships and taken it into the real world. So, you know, now they go and they do healthy things together. I'm now going to start something called Come Sleek With Me. Not sleep, sleek.
Be very careful that one, yes.
It'll be basically dinner parties where people can get together with like-minded people. And I think why Sleek Geek works is because when you try and be healthy, you become quite isolated. Because society doesn't want you to be healthy. Everybody wants you to join in. You know, you order a chicken salad and everyone's having a pizza, and you know how much abuse you take. Mm-hmm. You sit there with a glass of water while everyone's having a beer, and everyone has to take it upon themselves to tell you, come on, man, it's just one, like, it's not going to kill you.
Well,
you know, because I don't know, people just, I don't know why they do it, but so people in the Sleek Geek community, they find that suddenly they're supported. Suddenly when they talk about things that matter to them right now,
there's somebody else that they can talk to about
around their health journey. They're not like a freak, you know.
Do you find that actually is helping them to actually become healthier faster?
Absolutely.
Actually inspires them.
You know what, like, anybody can lose weight. Diets are, you know, but I'm not into the short term, I'm into building a lifestyle. And I think that at the end of the day, it's a mental game. It's about motivation, it's about support. There's lots of ways that you can achieve a health or fitness outcome. You know, there's no one single way. But the common factor, if you look at all my success stories, the common factor is all of those people, they wanted to do it. And they found the mental strength to do it. You know, they found their reason, really. Like, you've got to have a why. Why do I want to do this? And just to lose some weight is not a compelling reason. Sure. So I think that, yeah, people find support in the community. They love connecting with each other. Whenever I have functions or social functions, people connect immediately. So with this dinner thing, what we're going to do is somebody can host the dinner, and then I'm going to be supplying the food. Okay. The healthy snacks that you had outside was from I've got a food delivery service. I was trying to see who's taking what, you know, like who's going. It's an interesting social experiment.
Interesting.
But yeah, so that'll also be an opportunity for me to market my food delivery service.
For sure.
But I think that's why Sleek Geek works. You know, and it just keeps growing. I wouldn't call it a business at the moment.
Okay. So what is, coming to the business side, what is your business model for Sleek Geek?
It's a good question.
Seeing as you had to build business models for your corporate companies.
You know, I'm just going with it at the moment. Like, nobody wants to hear that, but the thing is, I didn't set out to build a business. I mean, I realized that at some point I've got to pay my bills. I mean, I left my job with a year's worth of living costs. Okay. So when I walked out, I had a year's worth of living costs saved up, which I'd saved like over the last 10 years. I didn't get lucky in my corporate career. Like, you know, there were some guys started working at NASPAS, and because they were on the MIH side, at the right time they got issued like MIH shares, and a lot of the guys made a lot of money. I was on the Media 24 side, bad timing, phantom shares, whatever, but like I wasn't at Avusa long enough. So basically, it's not as though I cashed in all my options and, you know, I could play golf or whatever it is. So I saved hard for like about 10 years. And I took that money, and basically that was a year's worth of living costs. That was a year ago. And now I still have a year's worth of living costs. So something's happening. I did sell my convertible.
Okay.
I'm now driving a vintage Volvo, which was my grandfather's.
Oh wow. Okay.
So
Sure.
So yeah, it needs a bit of a panel beat, but
It gets from A to B reliable.
but you know, it sounds great, eh? I listen to that engine, and I think, shit, that sounds like no car payments. it's really
That's brilliant.
no, you know what? It's been quite a journey, because I'd attached a lot of value to. I was never like about status,
Yeah.
but you know, I mean, you know, when you're the guy always buying the drinks, and you know you rock up in style, and you know that changes, and now suddenly I'm like, you know, I got to weigh this up. But the thing is, I wouldn't swap it back for anything, because right now I love the fact that I can do whatever I want to do when I want to do it on my own terms.
There's nobody saying like, oh, by the way, you know what? Here's the law that says that you
No,
can't do it.
no. Look, I mean, when you have sponsors. I mean, I'm sponsored by Reebok. You know, there's expectations.
Mhm.
I have to do stuff. You know, I mean, this is the real world. But still, just knowing that, you know, tomorrow if I want to go lie on the beach tomorrow afternoon, I can.
Okay. So you guys all there tomorrow afternoon?
But the thing is, I probably won't, because I'm still a workaholic. but the point is, I actually
That's the
just
thing of entrepreneurs. If you don't an entrepreneur to lie on the beach.
I like knowing that I'm building something of potential value that's mine. And yeah. So going back to the business aspect is when I did my Jerry Maguire thing when I left. Basically, my manifesto, I mean, my goal is to help 100,000 South Africans transform to a healthy lifestyle.
Yes.
That is my purpose right now. That's what I'm trying to achieve. You know, that's my next step. And I came to that because at that stage, when I left my job, I'd realized I'd inspired about 100 people. And I thought, oh, you've all seen that movie, Pay It Forward.
Yes.
So, you know, I just thought to myself, okay, with the network effect, if I can inspire 100 people, then why can't we inspire 1,000 or 100,000? And what I try and teach my people is leadership. Like, essentially, people who adopt a healthy lifestyle, get results, they must be an example for others. You know, they must lead. And my model is always to inspire rather than instruct. So I will never go up to someone and say, oh, you know, you shouldn't be eating that puff pastry. But the whole idea is to like lead by example.
Sure.
And so what that means is like, my job is to live my brand. My job is to practice what I preach. You know.
So from when you left your corporate job, just before you started with the whole I'm gonna get fit for something, up until now, how much weight have you lost? How much have you transformed as a person?
Well, it's shifted because I put in some muscle, but essentially it was about 17, 18 kgs.
Okay, well done.
Which, you know, on my frame is quite a lot.
Yeah.
But, you know, we've got guys who like are huge, and like, I mean, you know, you look at guys who lost 60 kilograms, and you know, I feel like it's nothing compared to them.
Yeah.
The difference is I decided to say, you know what, I've discovered something great, and I want to share it with the world. Also, remember, everyone's got their stuff. Like Virgin Active, that's the campaign, stuff campaign. I wish I would have taken it further, because it's such a good concept in the sense that everyone in this room has something possibly that they don't like about themselves. Okay, and something they wish they could change. Now, for me, my Achilles heel was always that I always had this tummy, and I hated myself for it. Like, essentially, the world would see this successful business guy, and I would look in the mirror and I would be like sad. And it's because I never believed that I could remove it. I believed that it was my destiny to have this thing. You know, you talk about bad genes and big boned and it's all cucked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, essentially, you can. Everybody can. Like, nobody is destined to like be out of shape. It's about choices and decisions that you make. Okay. So when I managed to achieve that, because I tried many times in my life and I never succeeded. When I achieved that, it's so weird. Like, I suddenly, for the first time, felt like I could do anything. It's so crazy.
Oh,
Like
right.
after everything that I
Although
achieved,
you've been at such a high level in corporate and you've done so amazingly.
after everything that I'd achieved in business, when I lost that, for the first time in my life, I became fearless. Like, it's so out of character for me to like leave my job and to do what I'm doing right now. Anyone who knows me will tell you, like, it's they probably think like I've taken some acid or something, but like seriously, like it's
Cape Town's getting to you, man.
it's really out of character for me because I'm always, you know, and you know what I mean. Maybe, you know, my mom passed about 2 years ago, and I mean it was, you know, probably like, but the thing is, I think some way I think that also contributed to me feeling a little bit more freer to be a little more reckless, you know, and like at the moment I feel like, according to the template that I've lived for the last 36 years, I'm 37 now, but like the years preceding this last year, according to that template, like everything that I'm doing now is utterly reckless, and I actually don't even have a plan. You know?
You're just winging it, man.
Yeah, exactly, and I learned some lessons there because I mentioned my friend Warren Moss has started Demographica. Warren asked me 4 years ago to start Demographica with him, and at the time, I was very risk averse. My father had just like lost his pension, tried to commit suicide. I was supporting my parents. It was a mess.
Okay, terrible.
So I was in a bad relationship at the same time. It was an absolute mess. So Warren came to me and said, start this business with me, and I said, boy, look, it's just not the right time in my life. But then I said, but I'll work through it with you if you want. And with my corporate brain, I said to him, no, it's not going to work because you're going to get to that point and it's going to fail. And that's what happened. But then he pivoted, and he had built up enough value, and he was able to change his business into something else.
Sure.
So that was a lesson to me that, you know what, you don't always have the exact plan, and things happen differently. In the same way that if you want to produce a business plan for investors, like the chance that business plan is going to play out exactly as you put it on the PowerPoint when you get your funding is probably, because there's certain things that you can't assume, there's certain things you can't anticipate. But ultimately, everyone just wants to know at the end that you succeeded.
Yes.
And, you know, you found a way. And that's, I think, what entrepreneurs is about. And I've actually grappled, you know, I'm here today. I don't know if I ever considered myself an entrepreneur. Because up until about a year ago, if you asked me, I would have said, no, you know, I don't have that stuff that it takes, you know. But I think that's what it's about. It's about being creative. I think it's about, I'm finding that it's a roller coaster. You know, I mean, a lot of people, they say, oh, you left your job and now you're sponsored by Reebok and you get to train all the time and your brand is to be fit. And, you know, but like someone's still got to do all the crappy admin every day. And, you know,
On your broken laptop?
Yeah, it's going to be fixed tomorrow.
Is it going to be?
So, but you know, at the end of the day, it's a lot of stress because now I've realized the importance of sleep. I never used to sleep when I was in my corporate life. I was known for my 2 a.m., 3 a.m. tweets about how hard I was working. Because, you know, when you live in Joburg, you've got to tell everyone how hard you work. It's like,
it's a thing to do.
It's very important. Like, you've got no credibility if you don't work your ass off.
Yeah.
You know, which I've realized is very stupid. So basically, I mean, like,
Cape Town's really rubbing off on you, man.
Yeah, like, I didn't value things like sleep. Now, because of the lifestyle that I'm trying to lead, I have to make sure I get my rest. But at the same time, I have to make sure I train, and I have to make sure that I'm eating well, and I have to make sure that I'm actually, you know, managing these 13,000 people, and trying to make sure that I'm making some money. Yeah. So it's actually, at the moment, I'm at a crossroads, and I think it's interesting for me because I'm at that point where, do I look for investment or don't I? I think every entrepreneur gets to that kind of point where, you know, you want to keep it all to yourself, and you don't want people to meddle with you. Because, I mean, I did lots of acquisitions in my corporate life, and I know what happens to companies, particularly who get bought in from corporates. Yes. You know, they put you over a barrel, you don't even know what your name is anymore, and the whole business changes, and it's everyone else's agenda. So essentially, like, I don't really want to go that route. Even if you look for angel investing, you know, I mean, people want their return on investment.
They do.
No one's going to invest in Sleep Geek because they think it's cool to, you know, to help with 100,000 people. You know?
Yeah, it could be like,
What's
the bottom line? How much are you going to give me back? What's the returns?
Yeah, so essentially I'm trying to avoid that, but I mean, how long can I go, just me? At some point the wheels will come off because I'm constantly innovating, I'm constantly adding products.
It's not scalable at the moment.
It's not scalable at the moment. I'm not scalable. And I'm trying to now assess, do I crowd fund from my community? Do I suck it up and look at some angel funding, put together? I mean, I have a plan on how to make lots of money, but it will take investment. And do I want to go to that level? I think I'm starting to get ready for people again, because
13,000 people that you're managing.
Well, staff. I mean, like my last job, there were about 450 people under me, and the thing was, when you at that management level, people only come to you when things get to a crisis level. So, like, you don't get all the good stuff.
Yeah.
People come to you when the shit hits the fan. And when you got like 7 business units reporting into you, there's a lot of shit hitting a lot of fans. So basically, your day is just made up with problem solving, and that's what you pay to do. And that's what you're good at doing. But it's kind of like it's constant. Just.
But you're getting negativity all the time coming to you.
Yeah, it's like Ari Gold from you all know Ari Gold. I mean, like, you're constantly in Ari Gold mode, like hustling, trying to solve this, trying to appease this one, and coming up with a solution, and it's and that kind of like gets to you after a while. So I decided that at least in the first year, I didn't want to suddenly have a few people around my dining room table having to think about their UIF or any of that kind of stuff, So, but I think slowly now I'm getting a little bit of cabin fever because I work at home. I mean, one benefit is I get to stare at the ocean, but in my underwear as well. But yeah, I think I'm starting to get ready for the idea of maybe executing the bigger plans that I have. A lot of people say to me, how are you going to make money? But to me, it's a no-brainer. I mean, if you have a community of people who are all interested in attaining better health there and then, there are so many products and services that are interested in those people, because those people are activated. I mean, you take Health 24, those are just people who are interested in reading health content. A lot of it's about sickness as much as it's about health. But, I'm dealing with people who at that point in their life where they're saying, you know what, I'm ready to invest in me because I've had enough of staying the way that I am. And I believe that there's a range of commercial opportunity in that. From on the e-commerce side, I mean, these guys, they want products. Look, the one area where I suffer a little bit is that I'm not interested in trying to sell people supplements and that kind of thing. So all this crap like Future Life, and you have health professionals pushing this stuff. It's all like rubbish. It's processed.
So it's basically behind your thing is Sleek Geek. We're here to inspire you. Yeah. That's why he's got the tattoo on his arm. There it is, inspire. And you inspire people to become healthy, but no matter how you do it, you follow the paleo diet. But if you follow another diet, that's fine, as long as you join our cause and we become healthy together as citizens of South Africa.
Well, that's in a nutshell. Yeah, I mean, I don't prescribe what people must do. We give them options, because I don't think there's a one size fits all solution. My lifestyle works for me. I don't eat dairy. I don't eat wheat or grains or anything. I don't eat sugar, bread, any of that stuff.
Sugar and bread, that must be difficult to cut out.
Alcohol, just tequila every now and then. But no, it's not difficult because you decide what you want. And I decided that, like, you see, what I discovered is it's about energy, and it's about health, it's about vitality. It's not about weight. Like, that's actually a secondary goal. Like, it's about how do you feel. Like, health also extends to your mental and emotional state of being. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is that they focus so much of their attention on their career. Like, everything is about their job. And all the other aspects of their life, like, are not working well. And ultimately, the mental stress and the emotional stress and all those things, they really add up. And I remember when I was at News 24, there was a guy, Russell Atkins, who now I think is involved with Thumb Tribe. And he was that typical family guy, left at 5. I know he didn't work in the evenings. And I always used to think, like, who is this guy? Like, I can't identify with that. Because I was a bona fide workaholic. And I realized he had it right. Because he actually always did what he had to do.
Got the job done.
He got the job done well. But when he left, his priority was his family, and his family time and whatever. And I realized in hindsight that there's no work that's worth losing sleep over. Like nowadays, I seldom work at night unless I've got a major project, and then I still have to convince myself. Now you're talking about someone who used to work till 2, 3, 4 every morning,
This has been a lifestyle change on the note.
Yeah, and I realized, my Mac died last night, and I had some serious things to do today. I'm not trading on my food delivery service at the moment because it was also hacked.
Nice.
But you know what? Nobody died, and it's going to be okay. The world's not coming to an end, and I think basically.
Have you sorted out your hacked problem?
Not yet.
Okay.
When I get my Mac tomorrow, I'm going to rebuild the website because I also do all the web work as well.
Okay. And what platforms are you using for yours?
WordPress.
Is it?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not.
You sold anything You sold anything online? Like actual purchase online?
No, my only products at the moment is the challenge.
Okay.
Which is a 500 rand entry, and I do 3 of those a year.
Okay.
There's the comeback kit, which is in January. That's after people have smashed Christmas and New Year's and everything. And then
is that a yearly? The comeback kit is a yearly thing.
Yeah,
Christmas?
I do three. I do 3 challenges a year. So there's a comeback kit, which will kick off in mid-January, and that's actually the prizes we're giving away tonight are 2 entries to the comeback kit.
Is that
cool? And then I do the Winter Warrior, and try and convince people that that's the time to really start getting things going. Although for me it's a 24/7, 365 thing, but people, you've got to work within their paradigms.
Yeah.
I also believe in long term and lifestyle. So these 8-week challenges are just activation interventions.
Okay.
And then we have the summer body. So at the moment I'm averaging about 400 challenges a challenge.
Okay.
Which is, it's 200k turnover, I've turned over 700k this year from my lounge without really trying anything. And I've still got to figure out what the tax implications of that is. I don't understand. But, I'm starting to learn all these things now, things I don't have to think about. When you work in a corporate, all that stuff taken care of. Now,
little minions do their things.
Now I have to decide, am I going to form a PTY? That probably will be the next step. Okay. And what paperwork needs to be done, and things start to get real.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to start to get more real. I think I've had a year now to kind of just deal with the shock of leaving. I mean, this is all the biggest surprise ever. I mean, if you told me a year and a half ago, a year and a half ago I was in a relationship, I was group head at Avusa, driving around in my convertible, 17 kgs heavier, chain smoking a box and a half a day. Basically I was another person. I literally wasn't. I probably looked 5 years older. It's actually funny because if I look at photos, at 30 I looked like 37, and now I've just turned 37, and people are calling me I'm 32. So I feel like I'm taking my life back.
Jeez.
I've never had so much energy.
That's a nice feeling.
And that's why my product is so easy to sell, because ultimately what I didn't realize is that if you say to somebody, "Are you healthy?" if they're not sick, they'll say yes, because we've learned as a society that sickness is just like an absence of health. Okay. And no, the other way around. Health is an absence of sickness. So essentially, I never realized that I was living my whole life with the handbrake on. I never realized that there was actually more. And to discover that, I sound like reborn or something, but to discover that, basically that there's a better life, and you can have more energy, and you can, that excited me. I wanted to share that, because I didn't realize that it existed. And I think that most people don't realize that it exists. Everyone's walking around with this brain fog, eating pastries and, drinking alcohol, and, that's a society we live in, and it's become the norm. And, I can't help everybody, but everybody that wants to be helped, I want to help, because I want people to live an optimal life. And I'm very, very passionate about office workers, because sitting is probably one of the biggest toxins. We've created this lifestyle where, if you think about it, you sit in the car, then you sit at your desk, then you sit in the car again,
and then you sit on the couch.
Then you sit on the couch, and most people sleep who kind of sleeps like in a fetal position. I mean, who sleeps on their back or on their tummy? Okay, so half the room. So everybody else is sleeping in like a sitting position anyway. Because when you sleep like this, whatever, you basically you're sitting again. You know. So all we're doing is sitting, and that's not. Man wasn't created to be that way. Most of the foodstuffs that we eat, if you walk through the aisles in a shopping center or whatever, I mean, I won't touch 90% of what's there. If it's in a packet and it's got, you know, more than 3 ingredients or box, I won't eat it. You know, it's
Wow,
like
you must have
real
a real
food,
fun
you know?
time buying stuff.
No, it's very easy. It takes 2 seconds. You just go to the meat and the fish and the eggs and the fruit and the vegetables, and then you leave. It's pretty simple. Go on the outside.
Awesome.
But yeah, so I mean, I'm not here to talk about nutrition, but all I'm saying is I really think that I'm passionate about what I do because I believe, and I don't think government takes it seriously enough, and I don't think business takes it seriously enough. Corporates don't take it seriously enough. The health of people definitely impacts their results and their performance. No question about it. Absolutely no question. And
in other words, the corporates had to get on board onto this idea of getting their staff healthier.
It's critical.
Output everything would actually just.
But in the boardroom, it's a soft issue. It's like we can't see the return on investment right away. You know, we can't really see. You know, is Johnny's work better? Exactly. Like that's the way corporates think. But ultimately, I mean, I think governments should be really worried because if you take the productivity of the country, like poor health, it affects productivity. And it makes people sluggish, and so I almost think that it's the silent thing which no one's talking about or doing anything about, and so I'm very passionate about it, and I want to help people attain a better quality of life.
Awesome. There we go. Thank you.
Cool.
Okay. Time for questions. We're going to take, I say 2 or 3 on this side, and then 2 or 3 on that side. Has anybody got any questions? There we go. Barry.
What is your birth date?
Birth date?
Yeah.
13th of July, 1976.
13th of
July. I'm a Cancerian.
1976.
Yes, very typical Cancerian. Very emotional and moody.
Yeah.
Okay. We have got the Twitter challenge. Paul, how's it been going with that? Okay. Are there any more questions? Sorry.
Any more questions?
Any more questions for Elan?
Quick one, your food delivery. What is your food delivery based around?
Okay, so it's called Paleo Monkey.
Yeah.
Our head chef is Max Buerta. He was head chef at Madame Zingara. He was actually the head chef at Canary Wharf in London. And basically, I partnered with a company called ihealthmeals.com and developed a paleo menu, which is the way that I eat. So it's called Paleo Monkey. And we deliver fresh food. So there's a lot of services out there that do frozen foods. But, you know, I mean, like a lot of foods don't freeze and heat well. So we do fresh food. It's pretty gourmet, 58 Rand a meal, a main meal. So it's good quality. And it gets delivered so the day before. So the guy will arrive at your home or at your office, whatever you prefer, and he'll deliver the food for the next day.
And that's ready cooked or?
No, yeah, you'll just heat it up.
Okay.
And basically you get you get 2 cooler bags, and it comes in that, and basically it can sit the cold chain for 24 hours. So what we do with some people is they give us a remote for the garage, and basically he'll just leave the cooler bag in the garage, and it'll be absolutely fine.
I was just thinking of what Rocket's doing with Food Panda in the US. So they designed the recipes with the whole thing that's going with MasterChef and that now, and they'll deliver the ingredients for the person to be able to cook that.
We're probably going to do that as well. And we've also just opened kitchen in Joburg. So yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be ultimately a good revenue stream for me. I just need to figure out the marketing aspect of it now. But yeah, the product is very good.
You've got the community, so.
Yeah, the product is very good.
We actually, yeah.
I eat it every day. I mean, like, that's why, like, I control all of the macros in the food, like the fats, the proteins, the carbs, whatever it is, and I control all the ingredients as well. So it's all, you know, there's no sugar in there. It's all coconut. Like, basically, if I won't eat it, then nobody else will. You know, I eat it every day.
Next question. There we go.
It's not really a question, it's just a comment that I really appreciated the fact that, like, you also discussed a bit about your personal struggles, like you had a back and forth, because sometimes when we go to these things, like the speakers are just like, it was success, 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 success. Whereas you delved into like a little bit about your personal life and like the struggles that your parents had. So like I appreciated that because it just like the normalcy of it is sometimes missing from these events because the person is going to be like, I was so awesome, and I just carried on being more awesome.
It's still hard. It's hard every day.
So
Like I mean, just maybe to comment on that, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much. To comment on that, like basically, I did this exercise. Have any of you guys done the exercise called My Perfect Day? So I really actually would, if I can leave you with one thing that you take away from this experience, is do this. Take a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil, and just free write for 20 to 25 minutes what your perfect day is, from when you get up in the morning till when you go to sleep at night, and try and be as detailed as possible. But free write it. Don't overanalyze it. Don't sit and ponder it. Just whatever comes out. And it's just a normal day. It's not a day that you're in Zanzibar on holiday or whatever it is. Like it's a normal day in your life, and you'll be surprised. It's a very gentle exercise, but it's very powerful. It's not like, you know, that other one from what's that guy who did the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People?
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, he has the one where you write your obituary from the perspective of, that's quite a harsh one. This one's more gentle, but it's very powerful. So I wrote my perfect day, and now what I do is, like an investor has a template of criteria when they want to invest in a company. So now whenever any opportunity comes my way, I line that up against what I'm trying to achieve as like my ideal. And if it doesn't fit with that, like I mean, I get offered consultancy work now all the time. So on the one hand, I'm not paying my rent, but on the other hand, I'm turning down consultancy work. Now you might think that's crazy, but I believe that taking that work is going to distract me from what I'm trying to achieve. And so if someone offered me a really like sweet corporate job right now, it doesn't fit what I'm trying to achieve in my life anymore. If I felt it was a stepping stone, maybe I would look at it. But so essentially, and the point that I'm trying to make related to your comment is that I'm still miles away from where I want to be. But every day is like, it's not a dream, it's a determined fight every day. I think what I've learned from being an entrepreneur and being out in the wild is that every day you got to fight for it. Like you don't just, you know, it doesn't just I think sometimes when people succeed, like in hindsight it looks like it was simple. But I really think that like for most people that succeed, it's a fight the whole time. It's not always like rosy and romantic. But one day it'll all be worth it, I believe. You know.
And totally unrelated, do you think that as like women we are more like apologetic when it comes to making managerial decisions? Like what has your experience has been? Because like earlier you did mention that like it's very easy for you to say like, look, you have to go, you're fired, go on, get out, type of thing.
Yeah.
So what has your experience has been like working with women and us having to make
Sure.
those decisions? Like
I've worked with some very tough women. But yeah, look, I mean, I don't know if it's a gender role thing, because I've worked with some pretty cowardly guys. I've worked with some pretty tough women. So, you know, I think it's about finding the balance. Like, you've got to be someone that everyone looks up to and respects, but they've got to know that at the end of the day, if they don't perform, you know. So, look, it's tough for guys or girls. Those kind of decision-making things, people struggle with it. It takes a certain kind of person. I learnt it at NASPAS. It was a learned behavior. I realized that for me, the easiest way to deal with it is just the acid test is what is right for the business. Always ask yourself what is right for the business, and that's what matters. And anything else around that, you deal with it. But that's always the right question, is what is the right decision for the business. And with that, you can't ever go wrong, you know.
Thank you.
Sure.
Just a quick
Simon.
Do you feel that the paleo lifestyle and the way of eating is going to become mainstream, so you'll be able to walk into Pick and Pay and people will buy it, or worse, people will buy it every week? Or do you think it's always going to be like a little kind of group on the side?
Look, I mean, there's a hell of a big paleo community in the States. In Scandinavia, the low carb, high fat diet is becoming quite mainstream. I respect what Tim's trying to do. Tim's lifestyle is slightly different to paleo. There's a bit of, it's like almost like Reform and Orthodox Judaism. There's some differences, you know. But I believe definitely the world is going to come to realize that sugar is the problem, and that things like grains are not the best choices. So ultimately, I think that pressure has to get there. But government and business has no incentive to change that. The only people that have an incentive to change that are consumers themselves. So it's about consumers voting with their wallets. It's like when I've got 10,000 sleek geeks going into Woolworths and asking, where's the almond butter? Because peanuts are legumes and they have anti-nutrients in them, then only are we going to start getting almond butter in Woolworths. You know, when people start asking about food quality, like, I want grass-fed beef. You know, I don't want this crap quality meat that you're serving me, you know. It can only come from consumers, and that's where I think the internet is powerful, because what Sleek Geek does is when I've got a detox called the Reboot, and it basically is the 30-day paleo challenge. I did that 10 months ago, and then I decided, hey guys, this is cool, it worked for me. I've now had 3,000 people do my detox, sign up for it and do it in a short space of time. And what's happened is those people they're all testimony, because all those people, I've had so many people say to me, I'm type 2 diabetic, my blood pressure's fine, I'm coming off my insulin. I mean, there was a day where if you went on insulin, you're never going to come off your insulin. So all these things are coming out, and I think that ultimately you look at the press, mainstream press. I mean, I saw in the Daily Mail the other day, the New York Times, sugar is slowly becoming more mainstream, that there's an issue there that people need to understand. People are also being told now that they don't need to worry about fat, which is true. Like, I eat a lot of good fat. This whole low fat thing is rubbish. You know, I mean, essentially you're better off having full cream than low fat, because low fat, like you've seen in the Facebook memes, low fat just means like chemical shitstorm, essentially. and the problem is that because of the low fat thing, sugar has been used as a cheap form of preservative, or to add taste to things. So you go read your labels. My best advice is read your labels. Your bacon that you buy has got nitrates and sugar and all sorts of crap in it, unless you're going to go to a quality butcher and get it. You know, your biltong has got sugar in it. There is sugar in everything. Like, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So when you add that all up, the amount of sugar that you're taking in is like insane. And sugar is a drug. It's addictive. I mean, Patrick Holford's got that book, How to Quit Without Feeling Shit. And I used it to good effect when I stopped smoking, which was one of the hardest things I've ever done. And in there, you've got cocaine, heroin in the chapter on sugar. And it's true. Like, the acid test is, you say to someone, don't have sugar this week, and they'll look at you like you're mad. I can't do that. You're nuts. And then if they did it for the first 3 days, they're going to start getting really cranky. And that's the proof. If someone says to me, I can't live without that thing, then that tells me, you know what, hang on a second, maybe you've got a problem.
What you say makes sense. But I went to a talk recently by the Discovery Health CEO, and he said, well, what makes people eat the right food? And he said, we can tell them it's good for them, we can show them it's good for them, but until we incentivize them, they won't listen. And when you look at things like the healthy food and all the kind of things they've rolled out, he said, until you actually show people a monetary reason why you should eat healthier, that they don't go that route. So it's quite an interesting thing. So I don't know how you do that.
It's hard. In the mainstream, I think things are going to stay the same. And also, you know, I mean, you say paleo is going to become mainstream. I mean, ultimately, things generally take 15 years to catch up in the textbooks and in the science.
Yeah.
So also, who funds all of the science that everyone quotes? You know?
Okay.
I mean, well, you know, I mean, the Dietary Association in the States is actually sponsored by Coke, and you got all these races. I mean, I did a diabetic fun run. It's Sasco bread, and you know, no, it's you think it's funny, but like, I did another race the other day where the Marcells thought it was a great opportunity to pull up a truck there and hand everyone ice cream at the end, you know, which fine, but I think it's inappropriate. So yeah, I think it's going to take. I think we've created a world where it is hard for people because you're surrounded by the wrong things all the time. So it takes like a determined choice, a daily choice to actually say, you know what, I'm going to make the right decisions. And that, you can't tell anyone to, you're going to want to do it. You know, it's personal for everyone. That's why I say we never tell anyone. We just try and inspire people.
Twitter challenge.
Yes.
Paul, come forth here, my man.
Let's open our lunch
should I just do it from here or?
Okay, yeah, it's fine. The camera's on you, so. Cool.
Right, so steady flow of tweets, guys. Thanks everyone for your contributions tonight. Really appreciate it. Actively using the hashtag, which is what we need you guys to do, so I can actually track what people are talking about. In terms of the flow of tweets, I think there was a lot of listening going on tonight because there was a lot of quotes spoken about. So I think there's a lot of inspiring stuff taken out of what you were saying, Elan. So
I've been laying me in trouble. It's okay, no.
So good job. The key quote that sort of stood out for me was the following. I think this relates both to yourself from a health point of view and also the direction in which you might be taking the business if you're going on, like you're going through a business venture. And the quote was by Simon Magner, which he picked up and he said, "Make your own decisions that you can believe." And I think that's a key takeaway for everyone, both in personal life and also in business ventures. So good little shout there, Simon.
Simon, well done, well done. There we go.
Thanks, Elan.
Awesome. So Simon, you just stand up for the camera. There we go. Awesome. Cool. So Simon wins a entry into next year's.
Into the Comeback Kid Challenge. So that's not a license fee to go bananas over Christmas, but it's valued at 500 Rand. And generally, there's a lot of it'll be like you also get like 500 Rand of a pair of Reeboks, and there's free eating plans, training plans. So it's quite a cool package.
So there we go. Nice one. Well done. Cool. Now, business card challenge. Who thinks they've got the most business cards? Okay, you started 5 business cards. How many business cards have you got? 11 business cards. There's a networker. Has anybody got more than 11 business cards here?
Sure.
No, okay, Barry, well done. Jeez. Well done. There's a network of note. Okay, so Barry, you guys get a 500 Rand entry into next year's competition as well. And because you get the networker challenge, you also get free entry into next month's startup grind event.
And I know, Barry, you're thinking, do you want to enter the challenge? But we've also got a toning category. So.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, there's a transformation category, so you can also put on muscle.
Cool. Okay. Guys, thank you very, very much for coming here.